Night Monkey, off the chain.
Night Monkey!
So I want you guys to make sure that you stay tuned, watch the rest of this video so you can see the things that I'm talking about regarding this spoiler review of Far From Home, aka Night Monkey, Spider-Man Far From Home. Yo, what's up, world? It's your boy Slim Jim Longfoot, aka the GOAT King of America. Welcome to this spoiler review of Night Monkey, better known to y'all as Spider-Man Far From Home. So this is the 22nd film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the second Spider-Man movie in this shared universe, and the fifth Spider-Man movie, now a record, fifth Spider-Man movie for Tom Holland, who of course first made his appearance as the character Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, in the third Captain America movie, Captain America: Civil War, which also featured the first appearance of Black Panther in the MCU. You know what I'm saying? So that was a great way for that, you know what I'm saying? Great trilogy to go out. You know, in my opinion, the Captain America trilogy was the best trilogy of the MCU thus far. Um, anyways, of course, these events going on in Far From Home starts right after Endgame. Well, 8 months technically after Endgame. 8 months after Endgame. So it puts everything in perspective. Of course, you know, their year, I guess you can say, is 2023 or 2022, 2022, 2023, however you want to call it. You know, because the events of Infinity War took place in 2017. But we're not really going by year by year. We're not even going to worry about the timeline as far as that go. But of course, you know, Far From Home takes place 5 years after the snap, or the blip as they call it in this movie, where, you know, Thanos of course took out half the life in the universe, and of course the majority of Peter Parker's classmates were blipped out as well. Himself, his Aunt May, so she didn't go 5 years wondering where Peter was. She was, you know, snapped out of as well. Uh, you know, the movie starts off pretty subtle. I say it like this because this is a spoiler review, which means you've already seen the movie. You've already seen the movie. So if you have not seen Spider-Man Far From Home, aka Night Monkey, you know what I'm saying? Don't watch this review. Do not watch this review. If you do not want to be spoiled, don't watch this review. So this is for the people who've seen the movie. I don't have to break it all down to you. You already know what happened. You know the deal behind Mysterio. First off, Jake Gyllenhaal did a great job as Mysterio. Did a great job as Mysterio. You know, Mysterio is not really a character where you got to put much thought into him. He's not like, oh, you know, one of the greatest supervillains of all time. You know, you got to remember this when it comes to Spider-Man. Spider-Man has so many freaking villains. Like the two top heroes in comic books, period, who has the greatest rogues gallery of all time, is this guy right here, Spider-Man, and Batman from DC Comics, of course. Those two guys, those two heroes have the greatest rogues gallery ever. Rogues gallery is so great, so deep. You know what I'm saying? They can give their characters off to other heroes and have let them have them. Like for instance, Kingpin. You know, Kingpin started off as a Spider-Man villain, and of course is now more known, you know, in Daredevil's, you know, Rogues Gallery. Oh, by the way, you see this shirt right here I'm wearing? I want you guys to know something about this because I want you guys to know the history behind this shirt right here. You know, I mean, if you've been around long enough, you've seen this shirt several times. You know what I'm saying? You've seen this shirt before in the past. This shirt right here, you know, not on my channel, but you know, just period. This shirt, I can't even remember when I got this shirt, y'all. That's how long I've had it. But I can tell you the key points where I have worn this shirt. I've worn this shirt to every movie that has starred Spider-Man in it, or has had Spider-Man in it since 2002. So from the Raimi movies to the two Amazing Spider-Man movies to all five movies Tom Holland has been in, I've worn this shirt at every movie premiere, every movie showing, because I haven't seen every. Well, I think I have seen every movie on opening day. that had Spider-Man in it. So basically, every time I've been to the movies, a movie with Spider-Man in it, I have worn this shirt since 2002. So that's 17 years. 17 years, 3, 2, or 5, 10 movies. 17 years and 10 movies. And I've worn this shirt too. And of course, it's been watched since then. So but yeah. Another cool thing about this also for you guys like Eric Larson, legendary penciler, legendary comic artist, one of the 7 founders of Image Comics. He was, of course, known for drawing Spider-Man back in the late '80s, early '90s behind Todd McFarlane's run. He was like one of the first guys to draw Spider-Man back in his red and black, which red and black was Spider-Man's original color settings. You know what I'm saying? Like when you saw the little sheen, the little light source from his costume when Steve Ditko drew him. It was always colored blue, but the costume was meant to be red and black. It wasn't red and blue, it was red and black. John Romita, once he took over the penciling duties from Amazing Spider-Man back in the '60s, he was the one who started drawing it less black. Not inking it like Steve Ditko did. He started drawing it less black, and it became more red and blue. And of course, by the time the cartoon came out, the legendary '60s cartoon of Spider-Man, with the famous theme song, it was basically red and blue at that point. So the red and blue stuck, but his costume was originally red and black, y'all. And so it was awesome in this movie to see that color scheme come back into play because red and black, can't beat that. Black and red are my favorite colors, my top two favorite colors. So black and red, you can't beat that, baby. Mysterio isn't one of those villains that you have to do a whole lot for. He's not the Joker. You know what I'm saying? He's not Penguin. He's not Riddler. He's not Scarecrow. He's just one of many in Spider-Man's rogue gallery. So it's not a lot of, oh man, we have to have like the perfect actor to play Mysterio. You know what I'm saying? So Jake Gyllenhaal, he did his job. He did what he did as Mysterio. What makes Mysterio awesome, which was played so well in this movie, is his quote unquote powers, his effects. The fact that in this world, of course, with technology the way it is now, you know what I'm saying, we virtual reality basically, Mysterio in my Mysterio in my opinion mastered it well in this movie, and it was um, displayed wonderfully, especially with the sequence. Once Spider-Man found out, what Mysterio's plans were, and he confronted him that first time, everything was just, it was a total mind bleep. It was a total mind bleep. And man, it played out so well because if you've seen, especially like during the days when Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, when he had his famous run on Spider-Man in the comic books, like he did, if I'm not mistaken, because I never read that particular book, but I've seen the cover and seen some panel, some pages from that. I have to go back and check that book out eventually because I got to look at McFarlane's whole run. I would, like when McFarlane was working on the Spider-Man books back in the day. During that time, I wasn't really collecting Spider-Man at that point, because I was still like a kid. I wasn't collecting Spider-Man for the artist or anything like that at that time. Spider-Man were books that I was collecting like when I was really young, and I got back into Spider-Man after McFarlane and McFarlane's run. It basically got back into the books once Larson took over the book, and then on into Mark Bagley's run, which was a great run after Eric Larson. But during the time McFarlane was drawing, of course, y'all know McFarlane's style. If you don't know who Todd McFarlane is, man, what can I say except Google him? Check out his art. I mean, the guy who created Spawn. Come on. Anyway, but they really brought Mysterio's powers to vivid, nightmarish life in this. You know what I'm saying? It's basically like a total mind bleep watching Mysterio's powers at work because it makes you feel like you're in some type of Freddy Krueger nightmare, scenario because he can really get to you like that. And That first time that he did that to Spider Man, man, it was a total mind bleep, total mind bleep. Overall, the movie was good. It could have had more action. You know what I'm saying? You could have saw Spider Man kick butt a little bit more as far as like before going on the trip, but understandably, he was still trying to figure out his way, figure out his path in the world, figure out who he really wanted to be after the death of Iron Man. But I'm glad that they're going towards the way of, okay, it's time to let him be Spider-Man, because we all know in real life, those who were into comic books before all of these movies came out, before the MCU came into play, you know what I'm saying, Robert Downey Jr., you know what I'm saying, he of course made Iron Man who he was. He put Iron Man on top, because nobody before 2008, nobody didn't give two rats butts about Iron Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, Iron Man was a second rate character. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, if you were a comic book fan, yeah, you knew Iron Man. You knew Iron Man. You seen the cartoons in the 90s. You read some of his books. But Iron Man was not no top dude. Spider Man is the flagship character of Marvel Comics. Everybody knew Spider Man from jump. You know what I'm saying? You grew up, you knew who Spider Man was. Like, the three top heroes that you knew growing up as a kid were Superman, Batman, and Spider Man. You know what I'm saying? Man. Simple like that. Superman, Batman, Spider Man. Even though Spider Man is in Marvel, the other two DC, but still, those are your top three characters that you knew growing up as a kid. It wasn't until Iron Man's breakout movie in 2008 that the world outside of comic books knew who Iron Man was, because of Robert Downey Jr.'s great performance and, leading the MCU, making the MCU a breakout success. And of course, the Spider-Man of this series, as everybody else in this universe looks up to Iron Man, and saying that's the person who he looked up to. And but I'm over the whole Iron Man Jr. scenario. Like, this is Spider-Man, for crying out loud. Spider-Man doesn't have to be Iron Man Jr. It's Spider-Man. Like, come on. Spider Man even existed before Iron Man, so it's like, it's time for Spider Man to be his own man. It's time for him to be Spider Man now. You know what I'm saying? And Tom Holland, thus far in his 5 movies that he's done, I mean, it's hard to believe it's been 5 movies already. You know, three appearances in other movies, 2 Avengers, 1 Captain America, and his own 2 movies. I mean, it's time for him to step up. And after the way this movie ended, with Mysterio framing him, basically saying that Spider Man is the bad guy and revealing his identity at the end. I mean, what this dude gonna do now? And J.K. Hey, J.K. Simmons, shout outs to J.K. Simmons, who of course, legendarily played with perfection J. Jonah Jameson in the Remy movies, came back as J. Jonah Jameson in this movie. When you first saw him play Jameson, like, he was true to life. He was like, it was like, wow, they snatched this dude right out the comic book. Like, this dude is J. Jonah Jameson all the way. He is J. Jonah Jameson. You know what I'm saying? Night Monkey, of course, is the identity that Ned Leeds, had to come up with real quick, so nobody wouldn't know who, um, that was Spider Man, when Peter was dressed up in his stealth suit, a simple black suit with some goggles. It wasn't nothing, really, complex about it. I know in the previews they made it seem like, oh, this is like Spider Man Noir or some other Spider Man. They were really trying to play off of that whole Into the Spider Verse, alternate reality type thing. They were really trying to play off to that credence. After Into the Spider Verse, but it wasn't nothing really spectacular. Pun intended. It wasn't nothing really spectacular about his black suit that he had on. It was just a stealth suit. And that was to make to keep his classmates from putting 2 and 2 together, because remember, Peter, his classmates are all smart. And of course Zendaya, who plays MJ, she of course figures that out, for herself, or at least she was, her percentile was real high on, the thought of Peter being Spider-Man. Zendaya, of course, played that role to her charm and appeal as always. Deadpan, but still with that cute, smirky demeanor. She's an awesome actress. And look forward to seeing her in many more of these movies. As time goes on, especially after this one right here. JB Smooth and the other guy, forgive me, I can't think of the name of the actor who plays the other teacher. Both of them were great. Both of them were great in the movie. As the teachers. The guy, the young man who I can't remember his name right now, who plays Flash Thompson. Once again, it's an interesting take on Flash Thompson. Like, he isn't necessarily the big jock that he used to be, which I had issues with at first. But understandably, the whole bully aspect has changed over the years, as far as like, what is a bully, as opposed to, being a hole or whatever like that. But he did a great job, of course, again, as Flash, and it seemed like we're getting to find out a little bit more about what's going on with him in the long run. And who knows, maybe he may or may not help Spider-Man in the next movie. Considering what the circumstances may be. We'll have to see, what that entails. So, as far as that go, the effects in the movie was great. Wish it could have been more fights. Samuel L. Jackson, played Nick Fury to, to such a interesting and comedic way. But of course, you're seeing this, and this is a spoiler review. We of course know that that wasn't actually Nick Fury, but that was Telos, the Skrull that we first saw in Captain Marvel playing Nick Fury. He was actually disguised as Nick Fury in this movie, and it wasn't on a secret invasion type of mode. It was because the real Nick Fury was actually on vacation, which I can't blame him after being dusted and come back and it's 5 years later. I'd be like, you know what? Let me call my friend. Hey, Telos. Let me hang out at your ship, man, cause I gotta get my mind right after this. Same with Maria, which Kobe Sanders, who played Maria Hill. I'd like to know where she actually was as well, because Telos' wife was masquerading as Maria Hill as well. So it makes you wonder also at this point how many Skrulls are actually on Earth. Not just masquerading as, other people, but, just masquerading as humans, period. Which I'm quite sure at this point there's got to be many of them, because I can't imagine that all of them, left Earth, you feel me? And of course, we also know that all Skrulls aren't benevolent, because, initially the Skrulls started out as a race of conquerors, introducing issue 2 of the Fantastic Four back in 1961. But, who knows what'll come of that now that the Skrulls are now in the play. That was pretty much the hint of the first of you know Fox, the characters that were offered with Fox coming back in the fold of the MCU, because Skrulls are of course always going to be tied to Fantastic Four, and can't wait for them to finally join the MCU. I can't wait for the MCU, of course, to be whole. Whole in the point of the X-Men being back, being in this universe, the Fantastic Four, and so on and so on. And it was kind of disappointing that the multiverse wasn't real, but given the fact we had Mysterio in the movie, I knew it was some shenanigans at play, because Mysterio, when he is involved, anything that he says or does is not to be trusted. It was awesome that they had that tie-in with his character to the hologram thing that Tony was doing. And of course, we got my boy Ralphie from A Christmas Story. We brought him back, Peter Billingsley. Excuse me if I messed up his last name. But of course, he was in the first Iron Man. You know, the guy who famously said, "I'm not Tony Stark," because you know what I'm saying. My boy Jeff Bridges, he was like, "Man, Tony built this out of a cave. He built this in a cave, out of scraps." And he was like, "But I ain't Tony Stark though, man. I can't do that. I can't do that, man." But it was great to see his character get brought back in, and you know what I'm saying, all of them, you know, now that Tony Stark is gone, you know, it's a big vacuum a big vacuum in the scientific world, in the world of superheroes, period. Now that, you know, Tony Stark is gone, now that Captain America is gone. If you looked at the beginning of the movie, they showed you all of the heroes that are going, from Captain America to Vision to Iron Man, which I'm quite sure Steve Rogers is still actually alive. But the public don't know that. They don't know that he's retired and he's an old man now. You know what I'm saying? Captain America might be alive for at least another good 5 years, because remember, he does still have the super soldier serum in him. So even though he's aged, you know, he could still probably throw some hands and, hey, maybe even get his age reverted. You don't know. But, you know, whatever. You know, it can happen, can't happen. I'm about to end this right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this spoiler review of Night Monkey, aka Spider-Man Far From Home. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Check out my other videos from my series GOAT 1408 TV. You know what I'm saying? Do awesome art right there. You know what I'm saying? And my other how-to videos, you know what I'm saying, if you're a small YouTuber, you know what I'm saying, trying to get your views up, trying to get your subs up, you know what I'm saying, I do, you know, videos talking about that, you know, how to, you know, make it do what it do. Meantime, between times, I'm out. It's your boy Slim Jim Longfoot, aka the GOAT, King of America. One love.
Time, no, tell them don't waste my time. Tell them don't waste my time.
Oh yeah.